You typed a real question, you needed an answer. But what came back was three paragraphs of, on one hand, on the other hand, that ended up with you still holding the decision you started with. And that's a specific kind of frustrating because the response looked helpful. It was long, it covered angles, it just never landed anywhere. There's a reason that keeps happening, and it's got nothing to do with the quality of the tool. It's about what an open question actually signals to AI and what you can do in about one sentence to change that signal entirely. The pattern's familiar. You needed a decision. What you got was a framework for thinking about the decision. Both options were validated, neither was chosen, and you're in exactly the same spot as you were before you typed anything. What's worth understanding here is that this isn't AI being unhelpful, it's AI being accurate, accurate to the input it received. An open question is a wide opening. And when the opening is wide, AI fills it with the most common response to that type of question. For decision questions, the most common response is a balanced one. That's the pattern that lives at the center of the distribution. And that's what you'll keep getting until the question structure changes. AI generates the most statistically likely response to whatever input it receives. That's the mechanism. That's what's happening every single time. For open decision requests, the most statistically likely response is a hedged one. Think about what the training data looks like: articles, advice columns, consultant write ups, explainers. That content almost always presents both sides, qualifies its conclusions, and says, it depends. AI has processed an enormous amount of that material. When you send a decision question with no structure, AI isn't choosing to be careful. It's completing the most common pattern for that question type. The balanced answer isn't the thoughtful answer, it's the average answer. Without a constraint on the answer structure, every response style is valid. AI has no reason to narrow. The default pattern for a decision question is, here are both sides, weigh them yourself. That pattern is common, expected, and genuinely useless when you need a choice. Should I? Lands in the middle every time. The question is shaped to pull there because that's where the statistical weight sits. The fix isn't about rewording, it's about removing the middle as a valid destination. When you force a yes, no, or this, that answer structure, the hedged middle stops being a valid completion. AI can't split the difference when the question only accepts one side. It has to commit. And the reasoning that follows is grounded in that commitment. You're not asking AI to try harder or be bolder. You're eliminating the patterns that produce softness. The committed answer follows because those patterns are gone. AI is working from a narrower pool, and the middle of that pool looks completely different. Two levers doing different things. The binary constraint forces AI into one side of the answer. It narrows the valid pattern space before a single word of output is generated. The hedge is already gone before the response begins. The situational context turns a generic committed answer into a relevant one. Without it, AI will pick a side, but it'll pick based on the most common version of that situation, which probably isn't yours. The context gives AI a specific pattern to match against instead of the average one. Both together. The constraint removes the hedge. The context makes the answer mean something for your actual situation. The binary constraint without context still produces a generic answer. Should I raise my prices? Yes or no? Forces a commitment. But AI is pattern matching against every business in every industry that has ever faced that question. The hedge disappears. but the specificity does too. Context alone doesn't close it either. All the situational detail in the world still pulls toward the average if the answer structure stays open. AI will use the context to write a more informed framework, which is still a framework. The combination is what changes what comes back. Here's what the actual comparison looks like. First, an open question. No constraint, no context. Watch for how many options appear, how much hedging is present, and whether a choice is ever actually made. Then the same topic with a binary constraint and a real situation. Watch for where the answer lands and how the reasoning follows from it. The weak prompt is 5 words. Should I raise my prices? No context about the business, no structure on the answer. AI received that input and matched it against the most common pattern for pricing questions, which is predictably a both sides framework. What came back? Timing and context matter. Consider your market position. There are arguments for raising now and for waiting. Every sentence in that output is technically defensible. None of it tells you what to do. That's the average pattern doing exactly what it's designed to do. The technique applied prompt gives AI a situation and a structure. I run a residential cleaning business. I have 22 recurring clients, a 6 week wait list, and my current rate is $120 per visit. My costs have increased about 15% over the past year, and I've not raised prices in 18 months. Should I raise my prices now or wait until the wait list clears? Answer with a direct recommendation, one option only, then explain your reasoning. The output? Raise your prices now. A 6 week wait list means demand exceeds current capacity at current rates. That's the clearest signal that pricing has room to move. Waiting for the wait list to clear removes the best leverage. That's a committed answer with reasoning behind it. The binary constraint eliminated the middle before AI wrote a word. The context gives AI a specific situation to match against instead of a generic one. The output is the most statistically likely response to that exact constrained input. And it's actually useful. What's the cost of the first version? You send a 5 word prompt, read 3 paragraphs of balanced considerations, and walk away still holding the decision. That's the average pattern completing itself while your actual question goes unanswered. Look at what changed between those two prompts, though. The weak prompt made every pattern available. AI used the most common one for that type of question: balanced, hedged, no commitment. Adding the binary constraint narrowed the valid completions to one side. The hedge had nowhere to go. The reasoning had to follow from a position. Adding the context narrowed the pattern further to one specific business situation. The answer became the most statistically likely response to that particular combination of inputs. AI didn't change, the pattern pool changed. That's the whole mechanism, and it's the same mechanism that's been running through every video in this series. The output reflects the input. Change the input structure, change the output. Here's the transferable principle. Open questions invite open answers. Constrained questions produce committed ones. Anytime you need a choice instead of a framework, a direction instead of a list of considerations, you have a way to get it. Force the binary, supply the situation. That combination changes the pattern pool and the output follows. Where your judgment still matters, you define the binary. If the two options you named aren't actually the right options, AI will choose between the wrong things and defend the choice well. You verify the reasoning. A committed answer can still rest on a bad assumption, and only you can catch it. You decide whether the answer fits because you know the parts of the situation that didn't make it into the prompt. The constraint handles the hedge, but the judgment is still yours. Binary prompting is one technique in a set. Each one works because it changes the pattern pool AI draws from, not because it pushes AI to perform differently. And that's what this series is built around, understanding that transfers, not prompts to copy. Subscribe so you catch the next one. There's templates for everything covered in the series at eauclairai.com. And if you want to work through this for your specific business, reach out to us at Eau Claire AI directly. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.